going on, the objects inbound, etc. They ran and hid and were trying to find a safe place. Hello everyone. You know, these guys were channeling back in the 80s to the LL Bean, and they gave other people a map. This was their plan, and in coordination with it, certain government bodies set up what they call governor districts, all based on the New Madrid fault. But the Tree of Life put the one in charge, and he has a different plan. And we've been told that it's not going to go on the New Madrid fault. And we were also told that it was going to go from Texas and the Gulf upward to the West Coast. They think they're winning, but it's an illusion. And they're using the same moves, so it's like nothing new. But none of these people make it out anywhere. And those that support them end up following them down. There are quite a few that are just gone. They're replaced, they're taken. And people are not watching. They're not paying attention. When the frequency started rising, they changed us from analog to digital because their masking was failing. Now they've hit another plateau and their masking is failing and they have nothing they can switch us to. According to those above, they call it a movie, and that explains how time can be stopped and things can be moved around and then it can be restarted. One of the first things they had told us was we were not in our original location. That's why I kind of laugh at the flat earth, round earth theorist, as well as the people that tell me the camera on NASA's cams, stereo images aren't real. This is a real war to retrieve human souls that are behind enemy lines. You're not in your original location. You are in the underworld territory. That's why they have control. They lied when they channeled to LL Bean and millions of others like Dolores Cannon. It's a trick of words. The all is what they call the Tree of Life. The one is the father of the branch of man. And so they removed his name and made us forget him. All of your choices, with exception to Jesus, were steered toward the left-hand path. So that when it came time to the division of the families, which is now, you would subconsciously be drawn back to the west, to the left-hand path. People think that this is a myth. Well, it's not a myth. When they say deep state, they're talking about the underworld. That's who's interfering. Humanity is held captive by a contract to this guy. This is who rules the 9 below. There is no longer 9 below. It appears there may be only 4 that survived. And this race has been damned in total. They try to hide that the eye is flashing. It should be visible in our skies, but they're using chemtrails. They said Japan had made a group soul decision on this, and that they would go in early in order to warn the rest of you and wake you up. Those who are moving forward get pulled at the time, and those who aren't moving forward simply go down. So what happens when the cataclysm comes? I'll read you what one of the teammates wrote to me when she asked. They showed me the world and people. The events were being seen around the earth. I was aware it was chaos as people found out what was really going on, the objects inbound, etc. They ran and hid and were trying to find a safe place. I watched silently the whole time, and after a while we could all see what was happening in the sky. People knew it was their end. In one moment, as I was outside, I remember seeing the clouds drop like a window, and for a short time you could see a road above us, and not even very high up. And on those roads were large trucks with dump truck beds all lined up and heading to the west. Those were the west. I looked around. Some people bothered to look up, and they saw the trucks. Others refused to look up and acknowledge them. There's not supposed to be trucks and a highway in the sky. And even amongst all those who saw, they refused to acknowledge what it was they were seeing. So they looked down or away, like if they choose not to see it, then maybe it's not real. I got excited because I knew they had just witnessed the construct and the other players that had been hiding or hidden. I started to walk to those around me and talked about the fake news, and I heard a voice saying, "To the people, you're in a movie." I was amazed at how many people were rushing to the ships. I tried to explain to them why they needed to stay here, but they went anyways. I said, your body may die, but that is our out, our escape. And they would say back to me, they knew that, and that's why they were getting on the ship. I got a little frustrated, so sat down next to a wall. This wall was pastels, moving and blending, like I was sitting in front of a fake sky in a movie scene, or like when we get family photos and those fake screens they put behind you. Except this one moved. It was pretty, but I sat there to collect myself and tried to explain, you don't understand. We are going home. Those of you who are leaving, you're going to get an energy boost to the soul, not the body. You have to stay here and not be afraid. When you get on that ship, it's not taking you where you want to go. What you're looking for is here, right now. If you go on that ship, you're choosing not to go home. It came down to a choice. Each one of us got it. And I got nervous, wondering if I would know what to choose, but I calmed myself as I saw certain events begin to play out. And I recognized the script. And I know, although we didn't get it 100% right, we who were destined to go east, we stopped fearing and became very peaceful as we saw each step played out. At one point, someone tried to force me to go, and I grabbed anything I could, and kept saying, no, I don't want to go with you. I'm staying here. I have to stay here for the final wave of energy. And I knew it would bring me home, separate me, and I'd go through the eye. Nothing was more important. At this point, I got away because of this kind soldier who knew they weren't allowed to keep us or force us. They could see the door opening to the pit. He let me go. I found my people. I knew them, and we stood up. We saw the play. We saw their movie script, and it was Nibiru, and all the written earthquakes, etc. I remember that the more things were happening, It seemed that I was seeing it too on a movie, on a wall, even though it was part of my experience and I too am here and going through this. It was happening to me, but not. The more we witnessed happening, the more calm and excited we got because we knew at any moment the flash would come. We started talking to one another. The peace we felt was incredible. I knew that no matter what fear factor they threw, we stood there happy because we knew. At first, yeah, it was gut-wrenching fear. That lasted about 5 minutes. And then I remembered I'd seen this scene before, and that it was all playing out as we had been shown before we got here. We just were forced to forget it wasn't that we knew or were aware of the next thing to happen. It was when it happened, we remembered it as the next exit protocol. Amongst us that were going home, we quietly chatted about soon we go home, soon. We weren't reassuring one another anymore, like now. We had an inner knowing, and we knew we had done our missions here, and that finally we were going. And I heard a countdown. They said we had already went past the countdown, but this was a new one that superseded the other one. I believe it was because we needed to all come to this moment so we could all make it out. Others needed more time, and this overlay dimension gave those that needed it. But here's the interesting thing. Everyone eventually got to where we are in this dimension. But those who are we here now, you and me, we're the ones watching through a veil their dimension as if it was the movie. On a flat screen, but not. If we wanted, we could go over there and it was as real a reality as ours. I saw people finally getting it, and the second they got it, the choice was made, and they literally would pop right through the dimensional wall and be with us. It was an individual thing and instantaneous. You had your mind go, oh wow, okay, I get it, and pop. You just poofed yourself into our dimension, and we watched you disappear from the other one. We all knew that we had made it home, and we all were and are currently standing at the gate. We carried nothing with us, just showed up in whatever we were wearing in everyday life. We even got to start saying out loud, 5, 4, 3, 2. I didn't get to 1 when I opened my eyes back here. I had asked to be shown whatever they wanted to show me. At one point we were rising, and I looked down and saw a large sun and a planet, a massive planet, and it had little moons. I remember saying, oh look at the pretty little moons. The other recently evacuated dimension was now being observed by all of the kids. We were all on the same planet, whatever, but they experienced the hell unleashed. We were there in a sense, but in a different dimension, where I saw yet again that they in that dimension could be seen by us, but they couldn't see us observing them while we were at peace and growing. This other dimensional reality showed the effects of the solar events, the earth events, and all that entails, but staying neutral and excited and happy because we all knew. We all knew in this moment we had made it to the gate, and we were 5, 4, 3, 2, and we were about to say 1 when I came back here. But as I look back, I see out of the corner of my eye the door open a crack, and powerful lightning came bursting through the door. It illuminated everything and everyone, and I saw everyone looking in one direction as the light grew brilliant. And I was in awe that they could still see with eyes open as the light began to envelope them, and we were all becoming beings of lighter, higher everything. I remember the feeling on this side of we are going home, and on the other side of the door we heard, "You're finally home." And the picture became observable by me as I woke. The underworld doesn't want to let us go because we're a food source. And the system AI doesn't want to let us go because it knows it gets turned off when we exit. So the division was done differently this time. As soon as the person got free of their debt or contract or curse, as soon as they gained enough fat to make it through one of the gates, they pulled the soul out and they moved them through the gate. So the people that are left right now are the people who are either holding the gate open, or they're holding the energy and the positivity for a relative that is still stuck, or they themselves are stuck. This decode was correct. The vehicles are no longer occupied, so the frequency is going to move them. Everything on the planet's been contaminated by nanos. But the human soul either went up or down. The problem with decodes and things like that is they show you the hell path, but you completely miss the jump to the other path. It's where they're putting their focus and their energy and where their mind is constantly going. That's the path you end up on. No one is actually staying. Everyone is being moved. For those who still aren't awake, they just don't remember. They move into the fifth world and the fifth book of life seamlessly. They're given a new body and a new name. Because you're in the underworld, things work a bit differently. One of the laws has to do with the call. It's also called the key. When you use their names, you are actually calling them, and by law they have to answer. Meaning they show up whether you know it or not. So you are unwittingly calling them to you when you say names that you know are fallen. But here, though, you have to do the reverse. You have to say heaven, because you're in the underworld. Yes, I've heard the myth that they have their own heavens. What they have is an ark, and every ark has its own heaven. That's true. But they're still in the underworld. All their arks are in the underworld. All of heaven's arks are in heaven. These are two separate locations separated by two gates. So make the distinction. Use your key. Go outside, look up at the sky, and say, heaven. Is it true we're moving to the fifth world, the fifth book of life? Please show me a sign if this is true. And remember, it's a real war, so do not ask, when are we going to exit? No one is allowed to know the time of our exit. Now, because we are where we are, the sign can be anything from a shooting star, if it's at night. It could be a gust of wind. It could be anything that has meaning to you, a song that comes to you, and it really becomes up to you to pick up on it. I think many believe that the sleepers, when they finally see the rocks in the sky, will actually call on them and ask for help and ask to be lifted up. And I was told that was when they could get quite a few in. I just think you should be proactive and ask now. They plan to seal the gate. Anything left below stays below, and there will be no humans. Your soul transfers to the body of one of the races below. Most of the sleepers are unaware of how many have actually already been pulled out. They're rather in denial, and most of them don't even see the amount of death, and they don't associate it with being pulled out. It was always said that as the path split, each side would see the other as being dead and gone, and those who go all the way out see it all and know that they're not gone. They're just moved. Don't get me wrong, there's a significant number of humans that do not make it forward. But at the same time, more humans than we thought, made it all the way up. And we have made many new branches up above. And as we pull them out here, they're moved into their new branch. Their house, their belongings, their family, everything is there. And all of this will seem like just a bad dream. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you again soon.